Hello and thank you for stopping by. My name is Becky and this is BecxReadz, and today I am going to share with you books that I thought I would love and didn't. I would like to thank Allie for suggesting that I do this video. The well is running dry for video ideas, people. I'm really having to dig deep. So thank you very much for suggesting this video idea. If you ever have any video ideas that you would like me to do or something, please just leave them in a comment on one of my videos. And if I'm able to do them, I would be more than happy to. If somebody could suggest video ideas for me, that'd be great. It's less work I have to do. Anyway, let's jump into the books that I pretty much hated. I thought I was gonna love these books. I really did. So let's start off with the book. Oh, this book. This book disappointed me on such an epic level. It is one of the worst books, if not the worst book I have ever read in my life. And the reason I picked this book up is because so many people on Booktube were like raving about this book. They were saying it's the best book they've ever read, it's their favorite book, and the way it was set up, so cool. So I thought, oh, I'm gonna love that book. No, I did not. And that book is House of Leaves. If this is your favorite book, if you think this is the best book that has ever booked, I don't trust you, because this book was freaking awful. I hated it with every fiber of my being. This is supposed to be like a horror or like a thriller, or I don't know what the fuck this was supposed to be. Trash is what it was. But we follow this man, this blind man who had left like journals or something, and then this other kid comes and he finds it, and he's doing like a documentary on these files that he finds about this family who moves into this house, and this house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Doors lead to nowhere, passages that never end, and things like that. So that was the gist of this story. It sounded really cool, and I suggested to my friend group that we should all buddy read this. Because it sounded so cool. Not only did the story sound good, but there were also, like, you had to read some passages in a mirror. You had to hold the book upside down sometimes to read what it said. There were footnotes that would lead you to the back of the book that then would lead you to different parts of the book. And it sounded like this awesomely structured story. There were about 8 of us who decided to buddy read this. None of us liked it. None of us. And you might be thinking, well, of course none of you would like it. You all read the same things. No, we had romance readers in this. We had thriller readers. We had horror readers. We had some sci-fi readers. We had a group of people who read a lot of different things. And this book sucked so bad that none of us liked it. Some of us didn't even finish this stupid fucking book. The only reason I finished it, I pushed myself to finish it, was because I was the one who suggested we read it, and I felt bad. To this day, I am still apologizing to my friend group for making them read this stupid book. It wasn't horrific. It wasn't thrilling. It was boring AF. Like this house that has doors that lead other places and passages that never end. You would think that would be really exciting. And there were maybe 2 parts of that story that were exciting. But for the most part, they're just traveling down this fucking corridor that never ends and then backtracking. And then the next day they'll travel a little further and then they'll backtrack. And then they'll travel a little further and then they'll backtrack. And I'm like, get to the end of this fucking corridor or let something spooky happen or something, because it was so goddamn boring. I cannot tell you. The fucking footnotes. They would lead you to the back of the book and then it would be like nothing there. It'd be like, oh, file missing. It annoyed me so goddamn bad. There were maybe a couple elements within this story that I found mildly fascinating. But for the most part, I didn't like the characters. I wasn't invested in the story. The structure of the book, although unique, was fucking annoying on an epic level. It's a good thing that I lived next to a little free library when I was finished with this, because that's where it went. Otherwise, I would have thrown it in the trash. But I think it met its fate because in the place where I live, like, we have a high homeless population. I think they took the books and they used them for fire to keep warm. So, you know, I think this book did more for that purpose than as a book. Trees died for this thing, and that is a tragedy. This book, just talking about this book, is raising my blood pressure. I hated it so fucking much. I do not recommend this. And I unsubscribed from the people who told me this was their favorite book and they were recommending it so vigorously. I was like, you're lying. I don't trust you anymore. Oh my god. So now that I got that out of my system, let's move on to some books that I had a less passionate disgust for. Next up, a duology, or should I say a series that I thought I was going to love. I really did, because I've enjoyed other of this author's works. And I didn't hate it by any means, I just didn't love it. And that is the Crescent City series. The first book was a slog to get through. People were saying how it was so spicy. The spice in this fucking book doesn't happen until like 400 pages into this 800-page book. We spend so much time focused on a dead girl, who we find out is dead in the first, like, 3 chapters of the book, and then we keep getting flashbacks to her, and I'm like, why are we spending so much time trying to cultivate a connection to this girl who we already know is dead? Like, move on. The 2 main characters who are in the relationship, I felt no fucking connection to them at all. They had the chemistry of 2 soggy pieces of cardboard rubbing together, let me tell you. I'm one of those people who is like, please let somebody else be Bryce's mate other than this Hunt guy, because this Hunt guy is stale as shit. I did not like him. The one character who I loved, well, let's just say it didn't end well. So I ended up giving the first book 3 stars because I just wasn't into it. There was too much world building, there was too much lackluster character work, there wasn't enough spice, and people kept saying, oh, it's great spice. There's no fucking spice in this book worth mentioning. So it was But I do have that track record with Sarah J. Maas of I often don't like the first book in her series, and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna love the next one. So I started reading book 2. I DNF'd this damn thing 200 pages in because once again, there was just a boring ass plot that I didn't care about. None of the characters were doing anything that intrigued me. And the only reason I was there was because I knew what was going to happen at the end of the book, because I don't mind spoilers and I spoiled myself for what was going to happen at the end of the book. And I was really interested in what happened at the end of the book. That's why I picked it up. So 200 pages in, I DNF'd it, and then I just flipped to the back of the book and read the last 10 chapters. And the last 10 chapters, or really maybe the last like 4 chapters, are what I enjoyed. Now, will I read the 3rd book? I'm not going to say no, but I think I'm going to watch other people's spoiler reactions to it first and listen to if there's anything that makes me want to read the book, and that will determine if I pick it up. If I'm not intrigued by anything that happens, then I probably won't read it. But yeah, this Sarah J. Maas series just did not do it for me. The next book, people had described it as a historic-inspired enemies to lovers witchy romance. If you know me, doesn't that sound like something I would really enjoy? And that book is Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. Maniscalco? Yeah, this just didn't live up to what people had pitched it to me as. The historic inspired? I couldn't even tell you what era this would be inspired by. I know it was inspired by, like, Italy. I knew that because of, like, the food and what people had said. But this could have been set in, like, modern-day New York for all I knew. The witches... By putting on a witch hat, I give off more witch energy than this book did. The witchy magic just didn't do it for me. The enemies to lovers... This was not enemies to lovers. They just didn't like each other. And for 2 people who didn't like each other, they sure helped each other an awful goddamn lot. Lovers? Stop pitching books as lovers when all they fucking do is kiss, okay? This was also pitched as she was supposed to, like, travel to hell, or she was supposed to navigate the circles of hell or whatever. She didn't even go to hell in this first book. Now, does the enemies to lovers and the whole traveling to hell thing happen in other books? I'm sure. But by the time I finished this, I was so disappointed with the way it was marketed to me, and I didn't get what I was told I was going to get, that I have no desire to read. the other books in this series. I don't have really a lot to say about this book other than it was just so freaking boring, and that is Practical Magic. My sister-in-law had given me the third book in this series for Christmas, and I thought, you know, I should probably go back and read the first two books. So I did. I read the prequel and I liked it. And then I read Practical Magic and I was bored. Like, if I wasn't listening to this on audio, I would have DNF'd it. I didn't care for the characters. I didn't care for the story. It was pretty much just background noise for me so I could have something to listen to while I did work. That was it. And that's really all I can say about this is I was just bored. So I never actually read the third book that my sister-in-law gave me. The next book I thought I would enjoy is one that I thought I would enjoy because I liked the TV show. And that is The Handmaid's Tale. I really enjoyed the first season of this TV show. It was intense and gripping. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to read the book and see if the book is anything like the TV show. Spoiler, it's not. It doesn't come as a surprise to me looking back that I didn't enjoy this because this is considered a classic. Okay. The way it was written really annoyed me. And it wasn't nearly as action-packed as the TV show. I also felt like the TV show just gave a lot more detail. It was a lot more action-packed. It fleshed out the characters a lot more. And I enjoyed what the show gave me. But this book, man, this book was just... It was quite boring for a book that should have scared the shit out of me. The next one that I thought I would love is a mafia romance that is part of a series that I absolutely adore, but this one just didn't work for me. And that is Stolen Touches by Neva Altej. So the reason that I didn't enjoy this has just to do with my preference. A lot of people love this book and it's their favorite book in the series. Me, however, this guy was just a tad too controlling for me, and so I DNF'd it. I don't know how far I got into it, but I pretty much DNF'd it when he made her quit her job. So in this, we follow a girl who, she wants to be a nurse. That's what she's worked her whole life to do, is to be a nurse. But she doesn't live in New York, and she isn't supposed to enter into New York without notifying the mafia head of the New York chapter. But she does. She sneaks into New York to do her sort of residency at this hospital. And when he discovers this, he pretty much takes her, he forces her to marry him, and he forces her to give up the thing that she spent all of her time and risked so much to do. Like, this is what she was passionate about, and this guy just made her leave it all behind. And I'm sure that they have a great romance where she falls in love with him and, like, he develops some sort of fucking emotion or something like that. But as I've mentioned, when I read a book, I become the main character. And I just couldn't deal with his level of controlling bullshit, so I dipped out. That's really all I got to say about this one. I thought I would love it, but the dude was just way too controlling for my personal tastes. This next one isn't a book that I've heard a lot of people talk about, and there's probably good reason for that. I think I've only heard one person say they've enjoyed this, and that is Witches Steeped in Gold. So once again, this should have been a book that appealed to me. It's Jamaican witches. How fucking cool is that? This cover, gorgeous. Like, this had the makings of something I should have enjoyed. I was so bored. I think I pushed myself to finish this, but I didn't love any of the characters. There was too much backstabbing and manipulation for me. Even like the lore, which is something that I usually love in books, that wasn't even enough to capture my attention. The next book I thought I was gonna love was Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This was pitched to me as a historical fantasy romance with fae. But again, I was just so bored with this book. It read like more high society drama, like Bridgerton-esque drama, and I just don't love those books. I don't care about people going to tea parties and people, what dress are you going to wear to this ball to catch the eye of this rich suitor and blah blah blah. I don't care about any of that. I did like the main character because she's somebody who's very like blunt, and you had to be very literal with her for her to understand stuff, and I really liked that about her. But I felt no chemistry between her and the dude who was supposed to be her love interest, and I DNF'd this book. because I was just so bored. And the last book that I thought I was going to love, I did a full review on it, so I will link it down below if you want to hear more of my cohesive, in-depth thoughts. Fourth Wing. It had dragons. It was pitched as enemies to lovers. There was so much that I did not like about this book. I'm just gonna let you go watch my review of it, because quite honestly, I can't remember at this time everything that I didn't love about this book other than horny teenagers. That's what I distinctly remember about this, as it was pitched as like a new adult story and I got horny teenagers. Now, there were some things I liked about this book, which again, if you want to hear more of what those were, my review is linked down below. I think I gave it 2.5 stars. But yeah, this is another one that I thought I would love, and I just didn't. Thank you for Allie for once again suggesting this video idea to me. This is why I don't talk about these books generally on my channel, because I don't like them. Let me know down in the comments, what is a book that you thought you would absolutely love, but you ended up hating? And if you've made it this far in the video, could you leave me a fire emoji? Because some of these books are better off being burned, let me tell you. And I don't advocate for burning books, but man, light some of these babies up. And until my next video, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully the book that you're currently reading is one that you love. Bye.